Ever look at one of those huge corporations, a parent company with tons of subsidiaries, and just wonder, how does anyone actually figure out their finances? It feels a bit like trying to understand a giant machine just by looking at one screw,
Yeah.
right? Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving into. Consolidated financial statements and the world of acquisition accounting. Our goal here is really to give you a clear handle on why we need these combined views and sort of the basic rules for putting them together.
Yeah, and what's really key, I think, is getting that single clear picture of the whole economic entity, not just, separate legal boxes on a chart. The basic issue is pretty straightforward. You've got legally separate companies, but they operate like one business. So the solution, you combine their financial info. It's all driven by this core idea of substance over form,
Mhm.
seeing the economic truth behind the legal setup. For anyone looking at these companies, like an investor, it's about understanding the real strength, the real health of the group, not just the pieces.
Right. So just looking at company A and company B isn't enough if A basically runs B. You absolutely have to see that combined picture. Okay, so if we get why we need this, the next question is, well, how do you actually do it? That takes us to the technique, right? The consolidation technique.
Mm.
It sounds like you start with the individual company accounts,
hmm
and then you make these consolidation adjustments to make it all fit, like a jigsaw puzzle, maybe.
Exactly. A puzzle is a good way to think about it. And when you look at the final picture, that consolidated statement of financial position, it really shows how specific things are handled. Take Goodwill, for instance. It's not something physical you can touch. It's that extra price paid over the fair value for things like, say, brand reputation, customer loyalty, maybe hope for synergies. And what's really interesting, especially for analysts, is that Goodwill has to be tested for impairment, meaning if that acquisition doesn't pan out as expected, poof, that value can drop, hitting future earnings hard, even though nothing physically disappeared.
Wow, okay, so it's a value that can just vanish based on performance. And what about this non-controlling interest thing?
Ah, right, NCI. That represents the chunk of a subsidiary that the parent doesn't own. It's crucial because, look, the parent controls the whole subsidiary, yes, but investors need to see how much of the profit and equity actually belongs to those outside shareholders. It neatly separates the idea of control from, owning absolutely everything.
That's a really important distinction, control versus total ownership. Okay, so if these companies are working together like one big unit, they must be doing business with each other, right? Like subsidiary A sells stuff to subsidiary B. How do you stop that from making the group's overall numbers look bigger than they really are?
Yeah, that's exactly where intergroup items come in and where the, let's say, elegance of consolidation really shows. You absolutely cannot count a profit made inside the group as a profit for the whole group. Not yet, anyway. For example, unrealized profits in inventory. If sub A sells inventory to sub B with a markup, right? But sub B hasn't sold it to someone outside the group yet, well, that internal profit hasn't actually been earned by the group from the outside world. So you have to eliminate it from the consolidated number.
Okay, that makes sense. You take it out until it's actually sold externally.
Precisely. And it's the same logic for things like intra-group balances. Think loans between group companies, or maybe unpaid invoices between them. From the group's perspective, looking outwards, these just cancel out. It's like moving money from your left pocket to your right pocket. The whole point is stripping away all that internal activity to show a clean, clear picture of how the group is doing business with the rest of the world. So just to kind of wrap up where we've been in this deep dive, we looked at why these consolidated statements are so vital, basically, cutting through legal stuff to show the real economic unit. We touched on the how combining accounts, making key adjustments for tricky things like goodwill, non-controlling interest, and importantly, canceling out those internal transactions. The end goal always is that transparent, comprehensive view, treating the group as one single entity, showing the true performance without the internal noise.
Okay, so what does this actually mean for you listening right now? Well, understanding these ideas really lets you see how these big, complex corporations work and, crucially, how their overall financial health gets judged. It helps you look past the individual reports and see that bigger, often more telling, economic story. It's the view that, frankly, serious investors and analysts depend on. Gives you a sharper lens, really, and maybe something to think about as we finish up. With businesses constantly changing, going global, more complex mergers, what kind of new problems might pop up? Trying to consolidate financials transparently across, say, different countries with different rules, or even with things like digital assets becoming more common. Definitely something to ponder for the future of financial reporting.